Hawa Bello, the founder and chief executive officer of Madame Coquette, is live here in the studio with us. Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's good to have you here. Thank you for coming. This was quite big.
Yeah, it was kind of a big deal. Yeah.
It was a big deal.
It was.
And a lot of discussions there were all about Africa, and Nigeria also came into the discussion. For you, what do you think the lessons from this one-week symposium?
Well, first of all, it was a huge honor for me to have been invited, and I'm still trying to get over the fact that I was actually there. But the level of networking and interaction cannot be overflogged. The people I met, the caliber of people I was interacting with for a whole week, the different seminars and symposiums we all attended, I still, remember all the lessons learned, and in a way, I'm trying to put all those lessons back here in my business and see how I can move things forward. But it's a great opportunity for young people, and I think it's important for World Food Prize and other organizations to include youth in whatever it is they're doing. And this year, being Addition and being the laureate, we were also proud to be there, and just being there firsthand to witness all the great work that's been done, all over the world was such an honor.
What are you doing here in Nigeria?
At Madame Coquette, we produce leather handbags, so all our products are made here locally in Lagos. We've been in business for 10 years. And yeah, we're still going.
This is a lot about entrepreneurship, and on that panel you were on, one of the panelists spoke about entrepreneurship not being part of the curriculum in many African universities. You think this is still a downside for us?
Oh yeah, I think that's a huge disadvantage that people have. When people view agriculture or farming, they don't see it as a business, and that is because it was never seen as a business, especially here in Nigeria. People see farming as a last resort. So it's important that we change the narrative and we let people see farming for what it is and for what it could be. It's a business. You're not farming to feed yourself and your family. You're farming to run a business. You're farming to make sure it's profitable, and it is profitable. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's something we need to tap into. But people don't know how valuable that market is. They would rather run to oil and gas or other sectors that seem more lucrative, but farming can be a very lucrative business.
Technology kept coming up in Iowa at the World Food Prize Symposium. It's all about technology, modern technology that Africa needs to scale up on to deliver the type of food sustainability that we need on the continent. What's your thoughts on what you call mechanized farming, or bringing technology in?
I remember the first visit we had in Iowa. We went to Iowa State University, and we were able to see all the different technologies they use in terms of seed production, farming, the mechanized farming, the use of tractors and whatnot. You can't produce on that scale if it's not mechanized. Putting the hoe to the ground is just not sustainable. You can't scale, thus you can't grow. If you're not growing, you're not making any money. So we keep farming, but we're not farming the right way. If we're not farming in a mechanized manner, we cannot compete with other countries. We cannot be a lead exporter of food products because we will never produce enough food to export. So mechanized farming is definitely the way forward, and I think the government needs to consider, needs to consider putting that in place, because we cannot grow if we're not farming in a mechanized manner.
You look at the Iowa State University, and we spent a whole day visiting about 4 different facilities, including that of biofuels and what have you, all they're doing, and it's quite impressive. But again, do you think we need to get our universities up to that level?
Well, I think for starters, we need to provide information to people before you take that step. A lot of people don't understand that agriculture is not farming, and I keep reiterating that. I don't farm as such. I have a dairy farm, but I make handbags. I'm in agribusiness. Agribusiness is farming, it's leather production, so many things, that encompass agriculture. There's so many different facets. So people need to understand that. And a lot of the universities, they do provide courses for agriculture, but I think the curriculum is so outdated that people don't know how to farm in the 21st century. We're still farming how people farmed in the 20th century. We need to move away from that and get with the program.
What more do you think the Nigerian government should do? We're getting a number of accolades for what we've done so far in terms of agriculture, but we still have to do more. What do you think needs to be done from a policy point of view?
Well, in the last 5 years, there's definitely been growth in the sector. A lot of people, are now leaning towards farming rather than seeing it as a last resort. They're seeing it as a potentially lucrative business, which is good. But I think the environment isn't as enabling. So as much as people are jumping into the idea of agriculture or agribusiness, they're not staying in the business. Staying power is important, and if policies aren't favorable, to young businesses and SMEs, then there's no way they can stay in business. When we're competing with imported products, we really can't compete with them, to be honest. If the policies for import, for example, favor people that import goods, they don't favor us because we're trying to make things to sell to our market and hopefully export. So that is something I feel the government should consider. Another thing I think the government should consider doing is providing accessible financing, not necessarily grants, but accessible financing. A lot of SMEs don't have the capacity or the documentation to go into a bank and get a loan. In the finance sector, the banking sector, a lot of banks, don't see things from a perspective of an SME. So if we're going in to get a loan, we can't afford the exorbitant interest rate that they're providing us, 25%, 22%. We just can't afford to run a business and still pay back. Enabling environment has to do with infrastructure. If infrastructure is poor, it's more difficult for you to make money. So, but I feel the government is working, but it's just going to take time, and we just have to kind of hang in there and hope it comes soon.
You've been hanging in there for 10 years with your business.
Yeah, I've been hanging there for 10 years, and I'm still hanging.
Yeah, you're still hanging in there. You think you can hang in there more? Do you see more of a silver lining moving forward with the way things are?
To be honest, in the last 5 years, yes. The first 5 years of my business were tough because I had no support whatsoever, from my environment, from the government. But in the last 5 years, things are slowly changing. The narrative has been changing, and it's still changing. And I feel, the government is finally realizing there's potential in this, and we should focus on youth. If you're investing in people over 50 or over 40, you're not really investing in the country because 70% of Nigeria's population is under 35. So who are you investing in? You should invest in the present, in the future. Don't invest in the past. And I think they're slowly realizing that, but it's just going to take some time.
You challenged the panel there, and you're on the audience, on the panel you were, and you said, look, we're not getting a fair deal from the rest of the world. The Europeans are bringing their food very cheap. They're bringing them here and all that. And you said briefly back there that if Africa fails, then we've all failed.
That is true. If Africa fails, we're too big to fail. So if we're allowed to fail, if we fail, then I think everyone fails. We're too important to fail. I mean, there are 54 countries in Africa. We make up a large percentage of the world, and we should not be waiting to get hand-me-downs from the West. We are more than capable of producing what we eat, producing what we wear, and living the way we deserve to live. It's a cumulative effort, obviously, but I feel that people should take agriculture more seriously. Agribusiness is the way forward. I've been doing this for 10 years, and it hasn't been easy, but it's definitely worth it. It's been an amazing journey. I'm still on the journey, but I definitely see a silver lining.
What do you talk about a dairy farm? Do you think you can still do more along the agripreneur line of things?
Well, my dairy farm is relatively new, and it's a hard business because dairy is not something that Nigerian farmers really move towards. And my kind of dairy farming is unique because I produce raw milk and fresh cheese. Now, cheese isn't something that Nigerians really consume. But I feel they don't know enough about it to let them decide. I think that we don't have enough options in Nigeria. That's one of the things that, that's one of the things I'm trying to change. We need to have more options. Let people decide. Maybe they like cheese, but nobody has offered them that. Maybe they like drinking milk, out of a bottle or a carton, but not many people provide them with that. When I go into supermarkets, I see milk from, Holland, from South Africa, from Germany on our shelves. And we have no business having those products on our shelves because we are more than capable of producing.
I'm going to have some time and visit the dairy farm and maybe see what is going on down there.
You are more than welcome.
It's good to have you here.
Thanks for having me on your show.
Hawa Bello, the founder and chief executive officer at Madam Coquette.